For almost 100 years, one name has been totally synonymous with adventure, with pushing boundaries, and with one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time, Amelia Earhart. Back in 1937, she was at the absolute peak of her fame when she just vanished while trying to fly all the way around the world. So let's dive in and really separate the facts from all the fiction surrounding her final, fateful flight.
Just imagine hearing those words crackle over a radio. That was one of the last things anyone ever heard from Amelia Earhart. Her voice was clear, but you can feel the desperation there, coming from somewhere over the massive, empty Pacific Ocean. It's a message that has just haunted people ever since. It's a chilling, final snapshot from one of the world's greatest aviators.
And that's the big question, right? This wasn't some rookie pilot. We're talking about a global icon, an absolute master of her craft. So how does this happen? Well, her disappearance wasn't just one simple accident. It was more like a domino effect, a complex chain of events. So in this explainer, we're going to break down that chain, from what made her a legend in the first place, to the technical glitches and competing theories that keep us all guessing.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this mystery, we've got to understand the woman behind the legend. Because before she ever disappeared, Amelia Earhart was so much more than a pilot. She was a genuine force of nature, and she completely changed how the world saw flying, and a woman's place in it.
I mean, just look at this timeline. Her career was just one broken record after another. What's so amazing is how she went from just being a passenger to a true pioneer. In 1928, yeah, she crossed the Atlantic, but she famously said she felt like a sack of potatoes because someone else did the flying. Only 4 years later, she does it all by herself, solo. And that 1935 flight from Hawaii, no one, man or woman, had ever done that alone before. This wasn't just about flying, it was about proving something.
Now, this number really puts it all into perspective. 200. That's it. That's roughly how many women in the entire world had a pilot's license back then. Remember, this is an era when women in many places had only just gotten the right to vote. So for her to be operating in this incredibly male-dominated field, her success wasn't just personal, it was a huge statement.
And she didn't just keep that fame for herself, you know? She used it as a tool for change. She helped start the 99s, an organization for women pilots that's still going strong today. She worked at Purdue University, not just talking about planes, but actively advising women on their careers. It's pretty clear that for her, the flying was never just about the records. It was a way to get a seat at the table, an advocate for women in science and tech.
All right, so that brings us to the flight itself. Her disappearance wasn't because of one single awful mistake. No, it was a cascade of failures, a total perfect storm of human error, mechanical problems, and just plain bad luck that all came together in those final critical hours as she was desperately searching for a tiny speck of an island in the Pacific.
So let's break this down. Her communication system, which was basically her lifeline to the support ship Itasca, it broke down at 3 crucial points. First, a simple but totally fatal human error in planning. Second, a key piece of equipment on her plane almost certainly failed. And third, the support crew on the ground was tragically just unable to help when she needed them the most.
Okay, this one is just mind-boggling. This was probably the single most critical error of the whole flight. The plan was for the ship to use a low frequency, which was perfect for her direction-finding equipment. But Earhart mistakenly asked them to use a high frequency instead, one that was completely useless for her gear. It's staggering. A simple paperwork error basically disabled her main navigation tool before she even took off.
And if that wasn't bad enough, something then probably broke on the plane. Evidence suggests a critical part in her radio gave out. And what did that mean? Well, it meant she could still transmit. That's why we have her last messages, but she couldn't hear anything back. She was basically flying death, shouting for help into a void, with no idea that people were shouting back.
And the dominoes just keep falling. Back on the ship, the crew on the Itasca were having their own set of problems. Their own equipment had a low battery, so they missed key parts of what she was saying, including the crucial report that she was running low on fuel. Her messages were also too short for them to lock onto. It was just a complete communication collapse from every single angle.
So communications are lost, the fuel's gone, and the plane went down. But where and what happened after that? This is where the mystery really takes off, splitting into 3 major theories that have been debated for decades. So let's look at the evidence for each one.
All right, theory number 1. This is the official story, the simplest one, the crash and sink hypothesis. It basically says that after she couldn't find Howland Island, the plane ran out of gas, she ditched it in the ocean, and it sank to the bottom. I mean, given what we know about her fuel, it's a logical, widely accepted conclusion.
But, and this is a big but, there are a couple huge holes in this theory. First, what about those strange radio signals that people heard for days after she disappeared? That suggests the plane and the radio survived a landing. And second, we've searched that patch of ocean with some seriously high-tech gear for decades, and we found nothing. Not a single piece of the plane. Which brings us to theory number 2, and this one has a lot of supporters. It's called the Nikumaroro hypothesis. The idea is that when they realized they'd missed Howland, they turned south and found this tiny, uninhabited island. The theory is they actually landed the plane on a reef and survived, for a while at least, as castaways.
And this is where the evidence gets really compelling. On this tiny, deserted island, researchers have found some incredible stuff. We're talking about a woman's shoe heel from the 1930s, a bottle that might have held the kind of freckle cream Earhart was known to use, even signs of a campsite. And those radio signals people heard, that could have been them, desperately trying to call for help.
But here's the real bombshell. Some bones were found on that island way back in 1940. Now, the bones themselves were lost, but the original measurements survived. And in 2018, a new forensic study came to a stunning conclusion. The bones are a near-perfect match for a woman of Earhart's exact height and ancestry. As the study says, it is the most convincing argument that she died right there on that island.
And then you have theory number 3. This is the really sensational one, the one you see in movies, the Japanese capture hypothesis. This idea suggests they drifted way off course, ended up in the Marshall Islands, and were captured by the Japanese as spies right before World War II.
Now, this theory got a massive boost a while back from a photograph that seemed to be the smoking gun, supposedly showing Earhart and her navigator in custody. But that photo has been completely debunked. Researchers found it in a travel book published in 1935, a full 2 years before her flight. So without any real evidence, this one remains pretty much in the realm of speculation.
So where does that leave us? Well, the evidence points pretty strongly toward the Castaway theory, but without finding the actual plane, we can't know for sure. The mystery lives on. But you know what? Maybe focusing only on her disappearance kind of misses the whole point. Her true legacy was built long before that final flight ever took off.
I mean, think about it. Amelia Earhart was a pioneer who showed the world that a woman's ambition has no ceiling. The organization she helped create for female pilots, still active today. Her advocacy for women in science and technology, more relevant than ever. And in a strange way, the unsolved mystery is what keeps her story alive, ensuring her courage and ambition continue to inspire people everywhere.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. As technology gets better and the search continues, we have to ask ourselves, does finding the plane really change anything? Or is the most important part of her story the incredible life she lived, not the way she died? Her true legacy might not be waiting to be found at the bottom of the ocean, but in the boundless ambition she represented for all of us.